Hi everyone, thank you very much for coming. As we were just wonderfully introduced, my name is Nicky and I have an impossibly long job title, and this is Jake, who's the course leader
everyone.
Over at NUA. We're here to talk to you about games and what you can get from making games and learning to make games. This is a brief overview of what we're going to go to today. We're going to tell you who we are and why you should even bother listening to us, what we do, making games, really important for the start of the conversation, and how you can apply those into other fields. There's time for a Q&A at the end, so if you do have questions, just keep them in the noggin, and we'll try and answer as many as possible for the end.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, so this is something that Jake and I have spoken about a lot. People look at games education and games design in general as this thing we make for entertainment. And we're very passionate in saying that there's so much more to it, and I've seen a lot of evidence firsthand that those game skills can do so much more. People look at university courses and they look at the title and say, this is what I'm going to learn. Well, actually, you're learning a set of constituent skills that will get you to achieve that goal. So, there's tons of innovation happening in the games industry, and it's being pulled to industries across the world, across the UK, and these sort of skills can take you almost anywhere. But, as I said, why should you bother listening to us? Now, I have a very long job title, and Jake is incredibly handsome. But I've been working for a studio locally called Infinite Form. We do stuff all over the world. I am very often all over the world, taking games and things we make using game skills in virtual reality, augmented reality, AI, 360 video, all sorts of projection mapping, and absolutely anything you can think of that's beyond new media, anything that's not on a screen, we make it and we take it around the world using game skills. I've been studying marketing and communications. Well, I studied that one in 2010, which feels like forever ago. And, I've been talking to people and learning about these things, and I've made it my business to understand how these things are applied and how people communicate. And this is the next step in how people communicate and how people are applying these things.
I'm still laughing about the handsome thing. You really caught me off guard. Thanks for joining us, everybody. My name's Jake, and I'm the course leader for Games Art and Design and Games Development at Norwich University Arts. My title was very long, but they've recently shortened it to Course Leader Games to make it easier. And I just want to say a quick thank you to Nicky for putting these slides together. Hey, come on, grab a seat. Particularly this one, and I love the idea that you might have spent the evening sort of tracing my face and your face, which I really like. Anyway, so I've been working in games education since 2019. And I've been the course leader for the past 2-3 years, and my practice is in games design. So I work kind of with clients making in a field called serious games, or some people call it applied games, where we use games to create experiences around scientific research or policy making. So things that can be quite dense, we use games to kind of invite people in and make it a lot easier. So that's kind of where my experiences. So I do that and I teach, and I get to work with wonderful people like Nicky, who has got a tremendous amount of experience in industry, and to create these opportunities, right? And to also to kind of put talks together like this today to kind of talk to you about games and game skills. So that's a little bit about me. So I'm just going to kind of move on into Norwich, just a little introduction to Norwich University Arts, and talk a little bit about the students really, and kind of what we do here, us as an institute, and just to build on kind of why us, and share that experience. So Norwich University Arts has, for those of you who don't know, has a really long history. It's about 180 years old in all of its different iterations. This has been recorded, so I hope that's right. But it's got a long, rich history of creative practice. Oh, there you go. There's my Teams messages going off. So we really, the Institute has this well-established understanding of what creative practice is, and games fits into that in its kind of contemporary iteration, right? So we're very good at what we do. We're an awarded body of what we do, both the university and the games course, and it comes from that kind of experience, that network, and the kind of learning that we have been doing as an institute for over 180 years, right? And we'll continue to do. for us, in terms of higher education, when you're kind of thinking about going to university, some of you might be there now, some of you kind of might get there in a few years. We are really proud of our kind of a unique approach to education. So we are project-based, practical learning. So everything you do, you'll be asked to do, will be kind of coursework-led, almost no exams. But the point of that is to kind of get your hands on. So you are learning with hands-on, right? Which is supported by a kind of a curriculum of broader kind of transferable skills development. So thinking about academic writing, research, team working, all of that goes into these projects, because that's what you will be doing when you work in the industry, right? So we are kind of true to that experience. Which leads into the next point. So we have kind of industry kind of collaborated projects and curriculum. So we work really, really closely with our industry partners to make sure that if you are coming to us to learn games or animation or anything else, that it is true to what you might go on and do, right? So, and through the nature of that, you are meeting people, you're building your network, and the skills you are learning are true to that experience when you graduate. We're also kind of a world leader in kind of emerging tech fields, particularly in the creative scene. So we've got, if any of you have been or haven't been just yet, Havers, our new building down at Havers Road, which is just out in the north side of the city. We have a new virtual production studio, a 360 screen, which is like massive. This is where this image comes from. And volumetric capture. So these are all, you don't need to understand what all these are. I didn't really understand what these were when we first got them, but these are all new emerging tech fields that we are at the front of, and we are, with lots of other people, figuring out what to do with them, and people like Niky and his team as well. So yeah, just we're, that's my boss. He's trying to get me to do more work. So we're a TEF winner, TEF Gold winner. So just to kind of add weight to what we do, really. This is a kind of a measure by the government that all universities will go under, really, and this is kind of assesses us on what we do. And so in 2023 we won a triple gold award. So but really all I'm saying there is that it's not just me saying we're great at what we do, right? Like, we are validated by that, by these kind of governing bodies. So that's really important to share that, like what we do and what we believe in is supported and seen, right? And the same for the games course as well. So we were winners of Best Education Institute in 2023. And really all I'm trying to communicate with that is what we do on the games course, what we do at Norwich University Arts, and what we're about to talk about is being acknowledged and is being kind of celebrated by other governing bodies. So it's not just us waving our flag going, we're great. So I'm going to hand back over to Niky.
So that's university, and a minute ago I did mention that I work for Infinite Form, which I imagine none of you know. And that's absolutely fine. A lot of the work we do is unlauded and behind the scenes. We work with lots of brands. We, as an agency that started doing virtual reality, have been going for 10 years this month, which in the realms of companies and universities, not very long. But if you can think of when you first saw a virtual reality headset, we're very old. And we've been doing this a long time, and we have seen it used in any way you can imagine. Now, we're storytellers, we're problem solvers, and we just happen to use immersive technology. And I think a third of our members of staff came from the games courts at Norwich University. Now, you might be thinking, who's even using this stuff? I've barely ever seen this stuff. This is just a small selection of some of the brands we work for. And I promise you, the ones you haven't heard of are the biggest companies, as it typically tends to go. For example, Berry there is Europe's largest plastics recycler, and we built a full innovation suite for them to educate people on how plastics can be recycled with zero loss. So they're actually making plastics that can be recycled better than cans. But that's a really hard thing to communicate. So we're using games and game skills to communicate these really complex ideas, working with Google, Porsche. I was recently, a couple of months ago, out in Kuwait. We did a full mixed reality museum for Porsche, telling the history of the company and the cars and all their accolades. So you get to go some really cool places. If you take my job, you get to go all over the world, but you can't take my job because I've got it. I'm going to pass back up to Jake, talk a little bit more about how you learn to make games and what that actually looks like, and then we'll talk a bit more about how it could be applied elsewhere.
Cool. Okay, cool. Anybody here, show of hands, who's made a game or game art? Okay, cool. Great. So we got a great amount of experience in the room. Okay, cool. So the kind of bulk of the talk today will be kind of taking an invitation to look at kind of what goes into making games, but really exposing those kind of smart skills that are incredibly important. So those of you who have had that experience, you'll know that it's not always easy, especially if you're kind of off doing on your own, or if you're working with a team that may be a bit silent. But making games is and game art is a kind of it's a long process that, particularly if you're making game art, that is kind of part of a bigger thing, right? So thinking about, and I'll show you some student work in a second, thinking about kind of who you are in the kind of games making process is really, really important, and who's next to you, right? So we kind of build that into what we're doing at the university and our curriculum, and we have kind of some our specialisms are kind of built up around this game making pipeline process. So this is a piece of work from George Key, and we're going to start to, as I start walking you through some of this work, some of these students will have moved into kind of more traditional jobs, but some other students have taken these skills and moved into different areas, and George is a perfect example of this. So this is his final major project, and he put this on his portfolio. It says hire me on the license plate because he wanted a job. Very cheeky. And he learned kind of how to make 3D models, right? One of the specialisms we do. So, and those of you in the audience might have done this already. So he learned how to make 3D models. He got some industry experience as well while studying on the course, and then through that experience has decided to kind of that actually he likes bringing these models to life in more of a cinematic way. Definitely something that you can do in games, but there's a huge market for that in film, right? So now he works in virtual effects, and his games degree and the skills that he's learned, the technical skills working in game engines, but also the kind of smart skills working with people, has enabled him to be incredibly attractive, right? And now he works for Milk VFX, doing VFX for cinema and film. This is a character made by Yulia, as Yulia's taken a more traditional route, who's gone to work into the games industry. But Yulia was an international student, so spent a lot of time kind of working in groups to try and figure out that games pipeline process. And that was the thing that's made her very attractive when looking to kind of get a job. She understood where kind of ideas come from in a kind of maybe more concept-y 2D art process, and was able to take that and apply it to her own models. And this is where this idea has come from. So now Yulia works at Soul Assembly doing what she loves, making models. This is a piece by Tyrrell, who continues to work at Jagex, and this is more of your traditional kind of concepting art process. So things that you will be doing here are around kind of coming up with those ideas in a kind of quick way, and building a world, right? So you've got to be thinking about being engaged in the world, maybe doing a bit of research, communicating with people to understand different stories, and thinking about how you might tell those stories in different ways, right? All these students are doing that, but concept artists have the kind of major responsibility to do that. And now Tyrrell does this for a day in, day out at Jagex, working on old school RuneScape, if you guys are familiar with that. And lastly, this is a shout out to Ollie, who is here today actually, so maybe you can all go and ambush him after this. He's just finished his Dog Walking Adventures game, which is his final major project. And he was one of our games development students, so spent his time learning how to program, and also games design, and how you might kind of put that into a project, use those skills to kind of bring a project to life. Really interested in the kind of solo developer route, so had to figure out learning kind of some art-based skills, right? So because he had understood the games pipeline, it was easy for him to kind of either reach out to other people or to find resources to kind of develop those skills. But it is here, go play it, it's really great fun. And that's out on Steam, and he's been working on this for the last 2 years since he graduated, bringing it to life. And I wanted to kind of just finish with student work with Ollie, because he just updated me, and this is live information for you, that he's now speaking in conversation with somebody looking to use the skills that he's learnt working in Formula One, which is really exciting. So yeah, go talk to him about that. Go ambush him. Go play his game. He's here. It's fantastic. I think, is this me? Is this you?
Either or.
I'm going to hand back to Niky.
Yeah. No problem. So something that Jake and I have spoken about a lot is, and I kind of alluded to at the beginning, was people look at university courses and think they're learning to do that one thing that's in the title of the course, when actually it is all of those constituent skills that are part of the formal education and the informal education that goes there. So all those smart skills like communication, teamwork, and some of those hard skills are informal skills. So understanding the pipeline of a project, and you'll get some people who go to make games and actually find a passion in project management. In fact, most of the production managers that we've dealt with at Infinite Form have been creatives or developers in their own right, who have found a passion into bringing those things to life and understand how it's a problem-solving endeavor. If you look at this in constituent parts, you will find success somewhere. And I think that's what's really key. If you look at this as, I'm going to make games, and there's a lot of things outside of your control, now, by all means, make those games, but that might not be what puts food on the table. But what puts food on the table might be using those skills that you've learned at university elsewhere, and getting a secure job in an industry that is growing and thriving even in the current economy, because they exist. It's all about applying them. Both those hard skills and those smart skills are transferable. Nothing is non-transferable. Nothing is too specific to not be used elsewhere. You will learn something from everything you do that can be applied elsewhere. So keep that open mindset, look at those skills, and you can apply them in all sorts of different places. Now, I've got a few slides with a bunch of different industries that are using game skills, and I'm just going to say this. I have seen all of these firsthand from my post at Infinite Form. So none of these are speculation or Google search. I've seen all of these firsthand. All of them use game skills. All of them use the sorts of skills that you can learn at a course like the one at Norwich University. So film and television feels really obvious now. Most prestige television is done on a big screen soundstage. Most of what you see in like Andor or The Mandalorian, a lot of Apple TV productions, they're basically people playing in front of a video game. And it's really that simple. So there's so much more. Just a quick show of hands. Who here is a parent or guardian that has someone they're looking after who's looking to make games? And keep your hands up if you're thinking, I don't know how stable that is, and I'm a little bit worried.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good.
That's the point of a talk like this, right? It's very easy to. I was the same growing up. I wanted to do something creative. I come from a low-income area, and my family like, oh, it's a bit dangerous. Oh, what if you can't get a job? And it's very easy to look at that as like, oh, I learned to make games. I learned to film films. These are skills that can be applied elsewhere. And all of these, all of the companies that do all these things, they're hiring now. So not just film and television, architecture and visualization. All those nice visuals you see when they're doing a new build, they're made by an artist who has done it in a game engine. They have rendered all the buildings, they have made all the little people and put them walking around, and they use those to earn a lot of money from like architecture. They have to pitch to get that money, and they have to like put proposals to councils and things like that. So they use game artists to do them. It's not sketch drawings anymore. It's full 3D renders and videos and fly-throughs. It's all being done in games engines. Automotive, aerospace, product design. Now, there are space companies in Norfolk that are using people with game skills to design rockets, to do simulations. Like I said, I went out to Kuwait for the Porsche experience very recently. We work with a lot of automotive companies. They are innovating every day, and they are using people with games development or games art knowledge to design cars and also to simulate what happens in them. So Jake mentioned about his background in serious games, a lot of scientific. You see, in our simulations, this happened. That simulation is a game, and it's made by a game developer. These things, training, simulation, education. We did a full virtual education experience. We've done training for offshore oil and gas to make sure that they don't blow up. That's really dangerous. Do you know where it's not dangerous? In virtual reality. So all of these skills are being used in tons of industries, and all of these industries are, to put it bluntly, absolutely swimming in cash. So the games industry might look fraught from the outside. It's doing a bit better than it maybe looks, because only bad news makes news. And there are so many other experiences. Even things like designing a shopping center or a cinema, that's user experience. They're skills that you will learn on a games course. So everything you interact with on a daily basis now, especially everything digital, someone with game skills has touched it. It is as a skill toolbox, it is one of the most varied that you can get in an education setting right now. As an individual thing, it feels very shallow and specific, but as a toolbox, it is one of the most varied. Given the way the world works right now, everything's digital. I think this is the one that we say we fall in. We've been going for 10 years. It sounds really niche. It's not. People pay £500,000 for a VR experience, a training VR experience. We're a company of 20 people in Norwich. There are lots more in London and Manchester and stuff like that. If a company like this can survive for a decade in Norwich, there's clearly a market for it, right? So these skills, and say a third of our members of staff come from the exact games course that you get at Norwich University. Now I don't want to push Norwich University so hard. I know Jake stood right there, but
push away, Nicky.
yeah, it's honestly it's a great course. We do a grad show prize with them. With this stuff we do together isn't because we think that they're nearby, it's convenient. No, a lot of our staff come from there. We value the education they do, and we value the approach. We get better the bigger the industry is, and all of these industries are looking for game staff. This is honestly the biggest one. Most of as a company's income comes from marketing and advertising, because the only way you get anyone's attention anymore is with a game or something that looks like a game. Even adverts that you interact with on social media, when you go to a shopping center and you see there's a big touchscreen and you want to interact with it, that's a game. We made that with game design tools. And that is the lion's share of our income is from other brand experiences. We did one for Shopify. We built an Instagram game for Haagen-Dazs. Snapchat filters made in game engines. All of these things that you interact with on a daily basis, it's all games. That's the big secret. Everything is games. But there's just so much, and we learn so much through play, and as a people we're predisposed to play, and as a result we're looking to garner people's attention with play. If that's in training, if that's in advertising, if that's in a simulation or visualization, it's all built in games, and it's all built with game skills. So there's so much to have. The toolkit you get is so versatile. The mindset that you can get from an experience like that is so useful. Your attention is now the biggest commodity. You'll probably notice the amount of adverts you guys get served and how much everything wants to keep you on social media platforms or on websites or watching TV or anything. Your attention is the biggest commodity, and humans are hardwired to learn through play. All animals are. When you see tiger cubs learning to hunt through play, it's the same thing. We're hardwired to enjoy play. Therefore, everyone's trying to get hold of that attention through play and through games. It's a very broad market out there with these skills. Brand new technology is simulating the pandemic. I know no one likes bringing it up, but a lot of the simulations were built in game engines. It sounds severe. Lives were saved by people that make games. It's all games. It really, really is.